Hi, everybody. Are you fearful or apprehensive about retiring? Well, if you are, you're not alone. I read an article this past week which stated a majority of Americans are more fearful and apprehensive about retiring than they are dying or divorce. Here's the numbers. 61% of Americans are more fearful of retiring than they are dying, and a whopping 64% of Americans are more fearful of retiring than they are divorce. I find this just absolutely astonishing. Now, I can understand why people might be apprehensive about retiring. I guess we all are. After all, it just feels safer to keep on working. All I have to do is go into work each week, and by going into work, trading my time, I get a guaranteed paycheck to come back, and that feels safe, and it's very secure to do that. But here's the thing to remember. Working can't last forever. It's impossible for it to last ever. The time will come when it comes to an end. Eventually, you're going to get too feeble, or you're going to get too sick, or you're going to get too old to continue working. Or you could be forced out of work because of your age and replaced with a younger employee for half the wage. And this is a clear and present danger. Or if you continue to work too long as your health declines, you could drop dead on the job. Banish the thought of that. Now, I've said all that to say this. Since your time on the job is going to come to an end sooner or later, why not be proactive about it? Take matters into your own hands and get out sooner while you're still young enough and healthy enough to enjoy the youth of your senior years. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about early retirement here, 55 or 58 years old, which that's great if you can do it. I wish that I could have. But what I am talking about is pulling the trigger and retiring when the time is right for you, instead of hanging on longer than you should just because of apprehension or fear of retirement. Now, if that describes you, I want to offer 5 encouraging tips today to help ease your fears and help you realize that you're going to make it just fine. And by the way, if you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Ronnie. Thanks for stopping by. If you think you'll like the content on this channel, be sure to hit that thumbs up button that you'll find down below and feel free to subscribe, and I will thank you in advance. So here's my 5 encouraging tips to help ease your fears. Number 1, practice your retirement before you actually do retire. And what I mean is this: while you're still working, pick yourself a target date and scale back your spending and live on a budget for, say, 3 months or 6 months to give you an idea or to give you a feel for what it's going to feel like to live on a tighter budget. Now, that's what I did. And let me tell you my story. You remember when the pandemic hit back in 2020, and then there was COVID and all those lockdowns. Well, during the lockdowns, my place of employment closed down for 3 months, as well as my salary. So rather than sitting around feeling depressed, eating junk food, drinking, and gaining a lot of weight, I simply played the hand that was dealt to me. I didn't have any control over it. That was the hand that was dealt to me. And so I played that hand and I adapted to it. And so what I did was, when my place of employment dried up and so did my salary, I fell back on my emergency fund. And by the way, that's why we need an emergency fund. And then I scaled back my spending during that time. And then I found other ways to engage myself and entertain myself. And I specifically remember having a conversation with my wife during the lockdowns in which I said to her, I'm taking this opportunity to practice my retirement, because I knew that I was going to retire soon. I didn't know when, but I wanted to have a practice or a dry run on it, which is exactly what I did. I took this as a dry run for retirement, and I was astonished at how easy it was to make the adjustment and how doable it was. And then when I went back to work, I simply continued with the same lifestyle pattern. I scaled things back during the COVID and lockdown, and then when I did go back to work, I just kept my spending and my budget and my habits and my lifestyle right there. This adjustment was easy to do, and it didn't feel like I was making a sacrifice at all, and it was really helping me pile up and save a lot of money. And then when I actually did retire at the end of 2021 or the beginning of 22, I actually had an actual idea of what my retirement was going to be like. Furthermore, during my first year of retirement, during what I called my reset, and by the way, I have a video on this, what I called my first year of retirement was an emotional reset in which I got myself healthy again. But during this first year of my retirement, I set a very low weekly budget for myself to see how little I could actually live on, to give me an idea of how long my money might actually last. And I was astonished at how little it really takes to live comfortably in retirement. Now, as a result of practicing like I did, it gave me full confidence knowing that I'm going to have enough money to retire. I've got enough money that's going to last me for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be just fine. So, number one, practice your retirement before you actually retire. Number two, and then when you get into your first year, give it 6 more months and just make your adjustments. And then after you come out of that adjustment period, you're going to figure it out and you're going to do just fine. Number two, a second encouraging tip is this. Number two, you will mature into buying a lot less stuff as you get older and after you retire. Now, when you're working, it's only natural to go out and buy a lot of stuff for yourself, on impulse even, or to make a lot of purchases just for the dopamine hit. Or maybe you go out and buy big ticket items like an RV or a boat or a brand new automobile or whatever. After all, you're working, the money's coming in and you feel like you deserve it, and maybe you do. But you know what? In retirement, all of that goes away. It really does. As you grow older, you begin to realize that buying all those things doesn't really bring lasting happiness. And any pleasure that you do derive from it is only short-lived. Now, I don't get excited about that stuff anymore. In fact, I'm just over it all. Over the years, my wife and I have found it to be extremely difficult for us to buy gifts for each other. Know why? Because we already have everything. That's why. We've been married for 43 years, and every time our birthday or Christmas would come rolling around, we would go out and buy gifts. But we've been married so long, and we're so old now that we just find it very difficult to go out and buy gifts for one another. When Christmas comes rolling around or birthdays come rolling around, it's very hard for us to buy something for someone who already has everything that they need. For instance, during the course of the year, if I want something or I need something, I go to the store and get it. If she wants something or she needs something, she goes to the store and gets it as well. But then when Christmas comes rolling around, how can you go out and buy something for someone who doesn't want or need anything? You get the idea. So what I'm trying to say is, as you get older and you move into your retirement or your retirement years, you mature into buying a lot less stuff. Instead, you tend to focus more on self-improvement, experiences that bring memories, and the kind of things that enrich your inner person. Number three, a third encouraging tip, in case you're fearful of retirement, is this. Many expenses automatically go down when you retire. Now, during your working years, you're raising a family. You're paying for a mortgage. You're buying cars for the kids. You're supporting a family of 4. Maybe you're funding their college, so forth and so on. That's an expensive time of life. But when you reach your retirement years, it's just you and your spouse now. Or maybe even just you. The kids are up and gone. The house is paid for, or it's close to being paid for. Your cars are paid for. And automatically, all of your expenses suddenly go way down. And supporting 1 or 2 people is a lot less expensive than supporting 4 or 5 people. Now, all of these are very pleasant surprises when you reach your retirement years or go into retirement. For instance, you will put less miles on your car each year. Now, when I was working, I was putting about 14,000 miles a year on my car, going back and forth to work and so forth and so on. But now that I'm retired, I'm putting 1,500 miles a year on my car. No kidding. Not 14,000, 1,500. Now, less miles on my car means less gas, less insurance, less wear and tear, new tires, and less maintenance costs. You get the idea. I've mentioned before, I drive a 2013 GMC pickup truck. It has 143,000 miles on it. And unless I just want to go out and buy myself another vehicle, this one that I have right now, it is going to last me for years. And in fact, at 1,500 miles a year, it's probably the thing will probably outlast me. The best part of that truck is that there's no payments on it either. It's paid for. Another thing that you save expenses on, you do a lot more cooking at home. As I mentioned before, you can cook at home for pennies on the dollar compared to eating out. You don't have to buy work clothes or professional clothing anymore. And not only that, I canceled my life insurance after I retired because we no longer need life insurance. Here at my house, we're debt-free. My wife and I, we're debt-free, we're mortgage-free, and we have enough money between the two of us that we're now self-insured. I don't even need a life insurance policy anymore. If I go before she does, she gets my half of the money, and if she goes before I do, I get her half of the money. So you reach a point where you don't even need your life insurance anymore. Another thing, and listen closely to this, it takes a little concentration. When you retire, you stop saving money, which was eating up a lot of your income when you were working. Remember, when you're during your working years, you're saving a lot of money, so your take-home, so you're actually living off of a lot less than your take-home because you're banking money. Let me illustrate using myself. When I was working, and after we paid off our mortgage, I was saving 50% of my take-home pay. I did that for years. I was saving 50% of my take-home pay, which meant I was actually living on 50% of my take-home pay. So when I retired, even though I was not saving as much anymore, I didn't need to earn as much anymore. What a pleasant surprise that was. Number 4, another encouraging tip, if you're fearful of retiring, is you can always get paid for a part-time hobby. Now, when you retire, you suddenly have a lot of extra time on your hands. And if you're still young and healthy enough, you have a lot of energy as well. And if you start feeling some financial pressure, you can always get paid for a part-time hobby. Now, my wife does this, not because she needs to, but because she enjoys what she does. She sets up a booth each week at a local farmer's market and sells her baked goods. She has this amazing cooking business, side hustle, or baking business. And as a result of being engaged in this farmer's community each week, she's meeting a whole new community of people outside of her former job, which is a lot of fun for her. Now, she does this 2 days a week. She bakes one day, and then she sells on Saturday, and she's making some serious cash doing it, almost as much as she was making when she was working full-time in her former vocation. Now, the main takeaway here is not about the money. It's about the fact that she's out of the rat race and calling the shots for her own life according to her own schedule. And that is the whole point of retirement. And that's why we shouldn't be so fearful of retirement, because there is a better life out there ahead of you. Even if you have to work part-time to make ends meet, or if you would just like to work part-time to give you some breathing room, it's still worth it to retire 10 times over. If you have a hobby that can turn into a moneymaker, what's not to like about that? And what's holding you back? Or maybe you would just like to be an umpire at a Little League baseball games in the community and make a little extra cash doing it. You can get into the community, meet new people, make a little weekend cash. That would be very fun and enjoyable. Or maybe you would like to take a part-time job at Costco's, working 2 or 3 days a week. Earning $10,000 a year can dramatically change your retirement. If you're drawing Social Security and then making another $10,000 on top of that, you won't even have to draw down on your retirement accounts. And those retirement accounts can just continue to sit there earning compound interest. And the biggest takeaway from this point is you're getting out of the rat race. And that is the goal for all of us. Getting out of that high pressure environment that's just killing us and crushing our soul, and getting out there on our own and figuring it out on our own. Even if we have to work part-time for a little extra cash to give us some breathing room, it is worth it 10 times over. And then number 5, this is important. You can retire on almost any amount of money. It just depends on what you're willing to accept as a lifestyle. Now, if you're desperate to get out of the rat race, you can do it. And you can do it with a lot less money than what you think. Now, if your vision of retirement is traveling to Europe and living 6 months out of the year abroad, or going out and buying yourself a $300,000 or $400,000 motorhome and traveling this country for 9 months out of the year, then you're going to need a boatload of cash. There's no way around it. You're just going to have a boatload of money. But on the other hand, if you're content to just get out of the rat race, to have autonomy and control of your time, to live a simple and peaceful life, free from stress, anxiety, and pressure, and being able to call the shots in your own life on a daily basis, then yes, you can do it. When I retired, my living expenses went down exponentially. They went down dramatically. In fact, my living expenses went down by 2/3. That's right, 2/3. I'm debt-free, so my Social Security covers all of my living expenses, such as my utilities and automobile insurance, groceries, gas, entertainment, so forth and so on. My Social Security itself covers all of that. Now, beyond my Social Security, I do have a savings account. It's a high-yield savings account, what some might call a bridge account. This account, my savings account, is money in which taxes have already been paid. It supplements my Social Security in case I need it. And it also bridges the gap from now up until I begin to draw down on my retirement funds. Now, the only time that I have to reach into this savings account or this bridge account is when my wife and I take a trip out of town, a vacation, or I have to buy a new appliance or something big out of the ordinary arises. That's the only time I have to tap into it. It's like an emergency fund, but I call it my bridge account. It helps supplement my Social Security for big ticket items that are unexpected. So stay with me here. I have my Social Security, which covers all of my living expenses. And then I also have a high yield savings account or a bridge account in case of emergencies. And then beyond all of that, I have my retirement money, my retirement funds, or what you might call your nest egg, such as my IRAs and SEP IRAs. Because my living expenses are so low, I don't even need to draw down on my retirement accounts right now. That money is just sitting there, and it will continue to sit there earning compound interest until I'm 72 years old, at which time the federal government mandates mandatory withdrawals. They're required at 72. So I've said all that to say this. If you're apprehensive about retirement, that's understandable. But don't let your fears hold you back. With a little bit of homework, you can come up with a plan that is perfectly suited for yourself. And you can do this. If I could take all of this information and reduce it down into one main idea, it would be this. The best advice that I can give you is when you're seeking advice for retirement, talk to other retirees, the people who have done it and the people who are living it. They know the ins and outs and the nuts and bolts. If you need a financial planner, fine, but they have a different message. Find yourself some retirees that you know, they're living it, they're doing it. They can give you some good guidance through your retirement. And that's my situation. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm only an expert on my own life, and I know what has worked for me. Well, again, thanks for stopping by. That's all for now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts and opinions, so leave me a comment down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you join our online community right here at Ronnie Christian, A Resilient Life. You can also share this video with others who you think could benefit from it, and if you'll do that, I thank you in advance. I'm Ronnie. Take care, and we will see you next time.